Hello and welcome to Seatrade Cruise Talks. I'm Chiara Giorgi, Global Brand and Event Director for Seatrade Cruise. And today I'm going to be catching up with our Entertainment Ambassador, Ryan Stana. Ryan is the CEO and founder of Emmy Award-winning RWS Entertainment Group, a premier production company creating memorable entertainment, consumer events, and branded experiences since 2003. Operating out of New York City, RWS Entertainment Group is North America's largest provider of branded stage shows and experiences. Welcome, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. It's great to have you here.
I am very glad to be here. Hi, thanks for having me.
No, of course. So I wanted to know a little bit more about Ryan. So where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a very small town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's called Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I was an only child whose parents were both entrepreneurs. And I truly, really benefited by being an only child because I got a lot of extra attention. And that extra attention, I'm an only child, niece, nephew, grandkid, it's all Ryan Stana. So I got a lot of extra attention that way. And with my parents both being entrepreneurs, I really learned to have no fear mentally. And I think that's the reason why I had the courage to open RWS Entertainment Group. And when you're 22, you're much more courageous than you are as you get older in life, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And when growing up, I always had two interests, which were performing and teaching. And my family, literally, from being an only child, anything I dreamt up, they made a reality. And so I performed professionally as a child actor from age 10 on. And then I also loved teaching. So I started a pretend schoolhouse in my home. So we turned a room in the house into the Learning Center Homeroom 101. And there was only one neighbor in the small town that I live in. And the son of the neighbors would come over for school every night. And my grandmother was the janitor and the lunch lady. And I took it very seriously. So really anything I dreamt of, my parents made happen for me. And so then by the end of my high school career, those dreams really started to push me behind the table, not in front of the table as an actor, to really start working behind the scenes. So I started working for this corporate entertainment company in Pittsburgh who hired me at 17 to write and choreograph corporate entertainment for them, which I don't know what they were thinking at the time, but I was always an old soul. So people tended to think I was older. And also because I was tall, I'm 6'3". And I am so thankful for them allowing me to do that at 17 because it taught me so much, because they put so much trust in me, and I learned how to run a business then. And I also learned things to do right and things to do wrong. So that's sort of my growth in a small town in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania called Greensburg.
So then after you worked for them, did you start RWS straight away, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so then I went away to college, and during college, I continued to work for them as a vice president, which, like going to college, studying musical theater, and being a VP of corporate entertainment, I thought I was living the dream, but looking back, I can't believe they allowed me to do that.
Yeah.
But then I finished college, I moved to New York, and I started working as an associate producer for a corporate entertainment firm here in New York City. And while I had really, really great respect for their creativity, they didn't always know how to run a business. And I really believe a successful company, a successful production firm, put it that way, has equal creativity and equal operations knowledge. So I became very, very frustrated one day. And I called my parents and I said, I hate working here. I don't want to do this anymore. Um, Give me advice. And they said, Ryan, why don't you start your own company? And literally they said that to me. I'll never forget. I was in Penn Station when I was having this phone call. And I walked into the office that morning and I said, you know what? I'm quitting. And that office did not have me sign a non-compete at the time. So I was able the next day, I took my family's advice and went to my apartment in New York City, went to the Staples store down the street and bought like proposal paper. And like, do you remember when proposals were like binded?
Down. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So I bought everything for that. I set up a desk in the corner of my home. And I had two roommates at the time, Colby and Barry. And I told Colby and Barry, I said, you have to work for me and answer the phone so it sounds like people work here. And I said, when you work for me, I will deduct money from our utilities bill.
Okay. And
that is how RWS Entertainment Group started in 2003. And it was crazy, but it all worked out.
So you started with your first two employees as your roommates.
Yeah.
So how did it go from that to what it is now? How has it grown?
Good question. So in 2003, when I opened the company, it was really focused on the retail sector, essentially providing mall shows throughout the US that drove traffic to the centers. So Santa arrivals, Easter Bunny arrivals, everything like that. And the first gig, I was hired by Clear Channel Worldwide to do this mall tour. And I went in and pitched to Clear Channel, and they handed me the contract. And I remember the contract was $180,000. And I was like, okay, this is how much it will cost me to live for the next 6 months. This is how much I can spend on the project, because I knew I had to do it top notch or I would never get business again. And I figured that all out, but then I needed a deposit. So I remember calling them and being like, hey, I'm actually by your office. Could I pick up that $90,000 deposit? And they're like, sure, come on by. They'll cut the check. They have the check here for you. So I walked in and the gentleman that hired me was like, how old are you? And I was like, 32. And he was like, oh my God, you're such a baby. I can't believe you're running this business. And I was thinking in my mind, like, if he only knew I was 20 some years old. So that was like the first big thing. Then I brought on my first full-time employee, who is actually still with the company to this day, that would come into my home and work like on hours. And then we got a request for proposal for the International Children's Games. Randomly got an email saying we would like you to pitch to direct, produce, choreograph, and direct for television. So we put together the pitch, went in. I've never done something that large. It was when President Bush was coming, all the Olympic athletes, everything. Went in and pitched. And at the end of the meeting, they said, you have the contract. And that was really the game changer for us.
And when was that? You said
that was in 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, like this was in the first year of business.
Wow.
And then after we won that pitch, we were in production. And then again, randomly, my cell phone rang because someone Googled fashion events and RWS popped up. And it was Daisy Fuentes' manager. And if you don't know who Daisy Fuentes is, she was the first Latina VJ on MTV. And they said, we need a producer to produce a fashion show of her new clothing line during Fashion Week. And I was like, we can do it, totally. And I knew nothing. All I knew was how to dress nice. I did not know how to do like a fashion show. But I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. So from there, we really jumped into the fashion business. So from that point forward, we've done fashion shows for J-Lo, Juicy Couture, Vera Wang, all from that one time with Daisy Fuentes. So that was all in 2003. And then by that time, I had enough money to open an office in Times Square, also known as a closet, because it was so small. But I was so proud to have that office in Times Square. So that was then. And then, so by 2005, growing from there, we were really heavy-handed in retail, corporate business. And by now I had that employee and I had an intern. And that intern is now part of our leadership team still at RWS. So she has not left. And then from there, we moved into a bigger office to fit some more people, like a walk-in closet, I would say, at this point.
Still in Times Square?
Still in Times Square.
Okay.
And then we went through 2006 to 2012, which really brought us into the amusement and resort industry. And my staff grew even more. So by 2010, we also moved into a much larger office at that point. And we had a large office and a small rehearsal studio. So 2006 through 2012, it was really amusement and the resort industry. Then 2013, we broke into the cruise industry and moved into our current complex in New York City as well. And then 2016, we purchased a company called Binder Casting. And what Binder Casting does is they cast Broadway shows, commercials, TV, films, etc. So what that did for us is if you work for us on a cruise ship, you have a trajectory to go and be in a Broadway show. So it made us more appealing to talent. And then also in 2016, we opened a ticketed entertainment division where we general manage ticketed experiences. So like we general managed a chorus line in Spain with Antonio Banderas. We took, I don't know if you ever heard of the film Pump Up the Volume. Christian.
I have, but I haven't seen it myself.
So we bought the rights to that and made it into a musical to go into theaters throughout the United States. So that was really what started in 2016. And then 2018, we opened an experiences division, which allowed us to do immersive walkthrough experiences for holiday and Halloween, which really made us grow because it was product installations that people are doing everywhere. And then 2019, our London office opened and we were producing about 400 experiences a year at over 100 venues on land and 24 venues at sea. And then 2020, we got to celebrate COVID, which has been just a great experience.
I want to go back quickly to when you got into the cruise industry. So what actually brought you guys into the industry? Where did you guys start?
So my main goal when I opened the company was always to be diversified because I saw so many companies that would focus on one sector. And when that sector would go kaput, like a lot happened during COVID, you were still making revenue elsewhere. So about 10 years ago, I looked at our revenue and about 75% of it was coming from the theme park industry. And that really scared me. So I thought quickly and I really said like, look, I think we could do work in the cruise industry. The theme park industry is very guest facing. So is the cruise industry. We're all telling a journey to the guests. And I thought that's what we can do. So I called a few mentors and they said, good luck with that industry. It's very incestuous and they do not bring in outsiders. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to prove them wrong. So I sat down with my assistant and I was like, listen, let's go through and write every cruise line there is and then find out who their head of entertainment was. And at this time, I didn't even know like hotel ops oversaw entertainment. So we just listed all the directors of entertainment or VPs of entertainment. And she then reached out to every one of them by cold calling or emailing them.
Mm-hmm.
And in true business fashion, no one got back to us, except Bill Prince at Holland America Line. And he took the phone call and the rest was history. And I really fell in love with the cruise industry through Bill's mentorship and learning the history of Holland America, the history of cruise lines in general. And since coming into this industry, yes, it is to innovate it as much as possible in entertainment, but it's also been my goal since being in this industry to open it up and make it reachable to outside parties. Because the more innovative people we bring in, the better this industry is going to be. So I've really tried to make it open and bring people in under my wing like Bill did for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing vice versa. I mean, was there ever anything that you saw in the cruise industry that helped you in the other industries that you served?
Immensely, and vice versa. I mean, really, when I started in the cruise industry, most cruise lines would say, we are not a theme park. We do not see ourselves as a theme park. And the theme parks would say, we don't have the big budgets the cruise ships have. So don't expect us to be giving you that kind of money. Ships are theme parks and the budgets are pretty much the same across both. I think people have, especially now,
yeah.
But there's so many synergies between both because we're all about having the guests go on a great journey. And that's what happens at a theme park or resort or a cruise line.
Absolutely. So talking about this year and the lovely 2020 that we've been living through, what's it been like? I guess operating a business like RWS through all of this.
So I always say when owning a business, I always say if someone comes to me and says, hey, I want to start a business, what are some suggestions? And the first thing I say, if I was ever to do it again, I would never do it again. I would never start a business again, especially being my age now. 23, 22, great. You can take the fear. Now, which is the age that I am now is when most people start a business, I couldn't have the energy. So that's the first thing I say. The second thing I say is when owning a business, the highs are the highest highs you will ever reach. Yeah. And the lows are the absolute lowest lows you will ever reach. And I do have to say with COVID, this has been a low point. And also there's really no rule book to running a business during a pandemic. So really my tried and true leadership principles became my compass. And it doesn't matter the circumstance, good or bad. I was like, here is how I'm going to lead my team. And I really led it through. I made a list essentially, and I think of this every day is 1, employee safety first. Yeah. Like never put anyone in harm's way. So that always is running through my mind every day. 2 is making sure I overly communicate to employees and to clients. Within confusion, which we've been in confusion all year long, people are seeking clarity. And silence, even though if it's perceived, leads to confusion and mistrust. So sometimes I feel like I am speaking to preschoolers, saying things over and over again. That's how I feel. But to the employees looking at us, that's giving them answers. So really overly communicate. Also, there was a point where we could have just stayed stagnant, where we immediately pivoted and said, how are we going to innovate? So making sure we're continuing to innovate during this time. And then I've always led with strong directives, but yes, have strong tasks to accomplish, but we still had to have fun. Like we couldn't be serious and depressed all the time when budgets were being cut and everything. So I led with a lot of fun. And the fifth thing for me too is maintaining a regular schedule. People like repetition, and that continued sense of who we are and what we were going to achieve was really, really important. So that's how we dealt with COVID. We're still dealing with COVID. We have usually as a company, I meet with the staff all together one time of year. As soon as COVID hit, we do once a week, every staff, it's all on a call. And everything that I would sort of just tell our leadership team, I tell everyone, because transparency is key through all of this. And it's been an interesting journey, but I think we're getting through it and seeing the light.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been an interesting year. And a lot of what you said, I completely agree with. And I think innovation was a big piece, or the way we communicate with our employees is very different. I know we started the book club in our group, just something different that connects us and allows us to come together in a different way and not just talk about work.
Right. And for us, it was also like 3 phases, because we have to be innovative to our clients. Yeah. We have to be innovative to our employees. And then also we have to be innovative to our performers that work for us. Yeah. So there were 3 avenues we had to continue to do. And then in addition, with us running, we run a 56,000 square foot facility with performer housing, rehearsal studios. So we knew when we start back into rehearsal, which we started back in rehearsal in July. And we knew not only did we have to make our clients feel safe coming into our facilities, we had to make our performers feel safe. Because if we don't have our performers, we don't have a product. So there was a major focus for us on how do we make COVID safety the most important task to accomplish by June. And we did it. But that was another thing to add to our list.
Yeah. Any particular innovations that you were proud of from this year?
You know what? There's been a lot. The most item that I was most proud about is, March 12th, it claimed a pandemic. By March 14th, we rolled out a ongoing performer webinar every single day with leaders in the industry. So in that in 3 days, our marketing team, our casting team came together and had the top people in the industry available for 1 hour every single day across the world. People could join on, and we were offering it free. And then we also have a full team of casting directors. So we offered every performer throughout the world 30 minutes of a free consultation. And we were getting, 10,000 people signing onto these Zooms every day. But I was in Pittsburgh visiting my family, and I went out to dinner one night with my mom, and a woman came up to me and she goes, "You don't know who I am, but I own an agency, a talent agency, and I want to let you know what you did for our actors in Pittsburgh saved them." And I literally took a breath, and I only think of New York City. I think of LA, New York, London. I don't think of these up and coming actors in a small town. And I thought, wow, we really made an impact. So that, along with our COVID safety, are the 2 biggest items that I'm most proud of.
Yeah. No, that I remember when you launched that.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful, wonderful initiative very early on.
Yeah. And you think about, and I'm sure if you do this too, when you go back and see how fast your team pivoted, we do a CEO roundtable every other month. And I took last month's meeting to say, hey, look at what we did since March 12th and how fast we reacted and pivoted and changed. And I said, that is what we should be so proud of. Because what we look at daily, being leaders, is the negatives to make them positives.
Yeah.
But let's look at the positives and be proud of that, because
Absolutely.
it's truly such an important moment. And even now, with our large studio space, we have 11 studios. We're only using 3 of them full time now for our product. So the rest are open. So we launched last month a pay what you can for all artists throughout New York City that can come pay 25 cents, $10, whatever they can afford to go into the studios. And that has been very emotional for our facilities team, because we had a principal dancer from American Ballet Theater come in 2 weeks ago, and she walked in and just started bawling and crying, saying, I haven't done this in 8 months. And I think it's very important. We have to make sure the artists feel comfortable to come back.
Well, I think you mentioned that actually in a call we had a few weeks ago, and I hadn't even thought about the fact that all of these performers haven't been performing for months, and it's not just clicking your fingers and they're back and ready. They actually need to prepare to get back to working. So it's never would have thought that.
We, starting rehearsals with performers, we saw like, hey, their bodies are in tip-top shape, but they're mentally and physically not ready for this. So now we are budgeting in all of our rehearsal process through 21, a 2-week conditioning with every performer prior to rehearsals beginning, because they are not ready to come in. They're not mentally ready. And I'm so glad we started this, again, the diversification, because if we were only doing cruise ships, we wouldn't know this. So I'm so glad in our resort and theme parks, when they started to open in July, we were seeing this now. So we're better prepared when the ships go into the water to prepare for this. And the ships are going to prepare for Broadway, because Broadway doesn't even know how to bring the shows back. So I think as an entertainment industry as a whole, we really have to come together and share as much knowledge as possible.
Well, yeah, and we've been seeing that a lot, at least internally, and I think it's starting to happen externally. I mean, so for you, when you look at everything, what do you think the future of entertainment looks like?
So the future of entertainment will return back to its roots. Okay. The roots of human connection and performance. People want to get away from Zoom, hence I'm saying this now and we're hoping people watch us, but people want to get away from Zoom and virtual experiences and experience something live. At RWS, we're going to continue to do what we've always done by providing innovative and cutting edge experiences to people around the world, but building human interactions, whether it's through a traditional show, through a strolling performance, a culinary experience, or a moment of surprise and delight that provide our clients with a return on experience. So the guests are coming back and again because of that human connection, and also letting our guests leave with an emotional souvenir. They might not buy something in the gift shop, but they're going to remember that culinary experience and bring it home and maybe say, hey, I'm going to cook this dessert that I learned while sailing on whatever ship, and that's going to be our dessert for Thanksgiving. That is the emotional souvenir we want, because they'll never forget that. But that is where I believe the future of entertainment will be. It's all about human interaction, on stage and immersive. But the future of entertainment in the ship industry, which is specific to this, I think shows will be something guests look for when we go back to service, but we need to create an experience around these shows that allow guests to be part of the action and not just a spectator. So that's very key in all of this. And we're doing this with Holland America and Music Walk, where you're in a branded experience with musicians, with themed cocktails. Celebrity, we're doing a new experience there where it's a choose your own adventure model, where the guests get something every night different. And that is what guests are craving. But also, as ships come back and the future of entertainment on ships, cost is going to be a driver in this. So operationally, we need to look at how to maximize staffing aboard the ship to create multiple experiences. So maybe now that piano bar player is going to be your featured singer in the main stage room because it's sharing one salary.
Yeah.
So I think we need to innovate operations as well. And we cannot go into this saying, well, it was always done this way and this is how we're going to do it, because we're not going to survive that way. But with everything that I just said, the future of entertainment needs and must incorporate food, incorporate beverage, incorporate merchandise that provides this full holistic experience. And we have to remember F&B and merchandise sales, that's an art form that should not be forgotten and is now expected by guests.
Yeah.
They want to show with their food, they want to show with their drink, they want to show when they buy their item at the gift shop. So I think it still focuses on that immersion to make sure clients are getting the return on experience, the guests keep coming back, and the guests take that emotional souvenir with them.
Completely agree. I mean, I think I'm of that generation that I've always gone after the experiences, but I think now even more so. And I'm with you. I think I've always thought that the term, well, this is how it's always been done, should have gone away a long time ago. So hopefully now it's dead.
Well, now we have to rethink everything.
Yeah.
And look at what is going to be the most efficient way to operate. So I think now we're looking at everything, and most of our clients in the leisure and attractions and the cruise industry, we're relooking at budgets. And when we're looking, they will say, oh my gosh, for the last 10 years, things have been great. We haven't even looked that we were spending this amount of money on something. And I'm looking at them saying, you spent $800,000 on that? And you don't need that. And it just sort of stayed that way. So now we're finding new ways to operate and freeing up funds for what is really needed.
Yeah.
So even though COVID has been terrible for all of us, there is some rays of hope from doing this that allows us to come back more efficient.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining us today. Yeah, this was wonderful. And, look forward to our continued partnership into 2021. And we really appreciate having you as our official ambassador to entertainment.
Well, I'm very proud of it. And I'm also very proud to help Seatrade. And I am always there for all of you. And I'm very excited to make this industry more diverse.
Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate you too.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.